Okay, I gave it about 5 minutes, so it is Wednesday, October the 6th. It's 7:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. Welcome to the open house and week one of contemporary issues in criminal justice. And many of you in this class know me from previous classes, as this is a capstone course and that we're going to have a little fun in this course. One of the first things that you're going to discover about this course is, number one, there is no textbook. So it's kind of akin to an independent studies, and that the lectures that I do generally are there to supplement, or at least to elaborate a bit on the weekly modules that you have here. And you're going to discover that there are things that can help you, resources that I have on the announcement page that will help you in terms of being successful. You're heading now towards your associates. I hope to see many of you in the bachelor completer program. I have this time constitutional law, and I have a lot of students that I remember from taking this class previously and did pretty well, and they're now on their way to getting their bachelor's degree. So that excites me as well. So I do hope that many of you will come out and spend time in class so that we can get reacquainted all over again. And I see Kari. Is it? Am I saying it right? I'm gonna open up your mic. Let's see. Okay, let's open up your mic. I have to go through and set that up. Unmute. Okay. You should be unmuted. And you should be able to put your mic on. Can you get it on? Can you hear me? Okay. Is your mic on? Can you unmute your mic? It won't unmute. I've already got it. Now you can unmute yourself. So try to unmute yourself. Click on your mic and it'll unmute it. That's okay. That's okay. I just want you to open it up for a few minutes and then we're going to close that. Yeah, it's okay. 2-year-olds. I used to be one of those. I used to be one of those. And I've had 8 of those. So that are now they're big people, you know. How are you today?
Good.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Is a boy or girl?
A boy.
Okay, so he's really busy. Yeah, I know about these
Yes.
boys.
Yep.
Yeah, I got 2 of them, but my boys are um, 6'2" and 6'3" now.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
they don't that, you know, they do their own thing. My youngest child is 13 years old. But you've been in my classes before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I recognize you. I recognize you. Well, it's good to see you again.
It's good to
So,
see you. I'm
and
looking forward to the class.
yeah, I'm excited about teaching this class because now you're heading toward getting your associates. Am I correct?
Yep.
So you'll have your associates coming up within another semester, or is this the last one before?
I think this is the last one.
Yeah.
I think I'm done before December.
Okay, excellent. And you're going to continue with the bachelor's program?
I think so. I am working on double majoring, so I'll also do the human resources program
Oh,
too.
okay, okay. All right. I used to have that. Yeah, I hear him.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay, don't worry. But no, so well, that's good. That's good. Well, I always like to. I've implemented starting to have my students do an open house to speak on their mics and be able to tell me a few things about themselves. So now I think you told me already. Double major, human resources, and what's the other?
And then the criminal justice program.
I got you. So you're not leaving us then.
No, no, no. Doing both because it kind of opens up the whole world. You can kind of do anything.
Don't I know about that? Yeah, yeah. You don't want to minimize your opportunities. You want to maximize your opportunities. So that's awesome. That's good. Where are you? What part of the country are you in?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Okay, Packer country.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't allow me to go up there because I'm a Bear fan. So especially to the uh, where the Packer headquarters is in
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Yeah, they don't allow me up there. I almost didn't take this job because the colors were um,
Green and
gold,
yellow.
green and yellow. I said, those are Packer colors. I'm 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 orange and blue. You know, so you can see
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Well, I don't know. I might have to exit the chat now.
well, I'll say this to you. One of my friends who's from Chicago, from here, he actually went to high school here in the Romeoville area. Uh, do you know the name Tyler Lancaster?
That actually sounds familiar.
I think Tyler's number is 94, I believe it is. I think it is 94 or 92. But Tyler is from here, and we know each other pretty well. And Tyler was he was drafted. Well, no, he was a walk on, and then he ended up signing with the Packers, and he's been playing with them since. I am. It's funny because when he had an event that I was invited to come to when he was getting ready to get started at what's that chicken place? I can't remember. Oh, Buffalo Wild Wings. And
Oh,
so I went there and to support him. But I told him, I says, a good day is when you have a good game and the Bears lose. The Bears win, rather. See that picture?
oh yeah.
Okay. Can you see it real good? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that's Tyler and that's me. You know,
Okay.
so that's as close as I'm going to get to wearing. He said, "I'll give you a free hat." I says, "I'm not going to take it."
You
I,
did your part, right?
yeah, I support him, but yeah, I think he's doing pretty good. I've seen him play a couple times here in Chicago when he comes home. You know, because they play at least twice a year. Um, so you guys got kind of an issue um, with your quarterback there. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Seems like he's doing too many State Farm commercials.
Yeah, he's not doing too good. Nope.
Yeah, I go back though to remembering the Packers, and I'm going to get to this, but I got to tell you this. In 1967, I was up there because I have friends in Eau Claire. You know Eau Claire
Yep, yep,
and Chippewa Falls.
yep. Been up there too.
I have dear friends there, and I was up there, and then this was when I was 17, and they invited me up to. We did an exchange program when I was in high school, where we stayed with them a week, and then they stayed in the city here, and we got to know each other pretty well, despite the fact that we had Bear Packer rivalries going. But and some of those people got married, so
Oh,
they got
really?
yeah. So said the house divided can't stand. Well, some of those people became uh, Bear fans that were Packer fans and vice versa. So, and some just split down the middle. But yeah, I used to go up there, but I was actually up there, and you're probably too young to know about this or may have heard. They had the famous Frozen Tundra game. You ever heard that
Yep,
one? You
yep.
remember the field was so frozen that the girds under the bottom were frozen, and the Packers played the Cowboys. And I think on the fourth down, Bart Starr handed off to Paul Horning, a guy who uh, crossed, and they beat the Cowboys. I was up there cheering against the Packers. They said we got to get you out of town. So, but you know, I don't mind the Packers, um, but except when they play the Bears, it's all bets are off, you know.
It
But
makes life interesting.
yeah, it does, it does, it does. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you is when I was up there for that program in '67, we were playing baseball in a pasture, and it's funny. I slid into what I thought was a base, but it was a cow pie. Not face first now.
Well, at least it wasn't face first.
No, it wasn't face first. No, but I had to get it. You know, my shoes were messed up. I couldn't even clean them. So, you know, so they got me another pair of shoes to wear. But I always remember that that. And I says, yeah. I says, I thought it was a base, you know, but no, it was just a
Yeah.
crest. It was and if you ever seen one, they're like big and
Oh yeah, yep. We have beef cattle.
oh, then you know then.
Yep.
Okay, I don't have to tell you. So yeah, well, see, I like what you produce though. I'm a steak person. So cows run from me, you know. So, but anyway, just a little bit about you know, this, something you probably didn't even know about me. Now you know. So
No, not at
my pro
all.
my professor slid into a cow pie. Yeah, and we'll and still admit it, you know. So it's funny. I was 17 then, so now the numbers have turned around. Literally, I'm 71 now. So
Oh wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
nobody
No.
can. But God's been good to me. That's the key, right there. So, but yeah, friends of mine went to what was then called um, Wisconsin State in Eau Claire. Now it's called University of Wisconsin at Eau Claire. And, you know, so I think they did away with Wisconsin State altogether, and all are University of Wisconsin at Platteville, Whitewater, and so forth and so on. So, but, okay, well, let's get started here. I like this class because I could be a little more relaxed because okay, I'm gonna close your okay, there you go. So I just closed your mic. But let's go ahead and let's start sharing my screen. This is really a cool class, in my opinion, because of the fact that uh, we get a chance to relax. First of all, the very first thing that you will realize, and I will tell you this, is if you tell me that you couldn't find a textbook, there's a good reason for that. There is not one. And this course, because it's a capstone course, what it really basically means, Kari and everybody else, is that you're going to be taking kind of a survey of stuff that you've taken up to this particular point. And we kind of like, as we say, each week we will have topics that are akin to what you have studied all the way through. And we'll have some topics that we can engage in discussions with. I will be trying to find some relevant current news stories or articles, and I encourage my students to do the same. If you have any or know any, bring them to my attention so that I can share them with the class. And so that's why it's called contemporary issues. Uh, and in criminal justice, we got a whole lot of things that are going on, and you know, from the court cases like the George Floyd case to criminal justice reform that is taking place, that they're working on as well. So the key thing is that, uh, as I have often said, bringing back to your remembrance, that I want my students to be educated, professional, and ethical. And so this is an opportunity for us to chat about those kind of things. So I'm not restricted by the materials itself, but we can have fun. And like I said again, feel free to, even you know, to open up your mic if you have a question. Or sometimes you do better when you talk than when you try to type. I can't type as fast as I talk. I don't know. Even my court reporter friends tell me that they didn't have that art down either, and I spent a lot of time in front of them. So anyway, first of all, uh, we have a roster here, and I'm going to open up that roster so you can see it. And these are students that some of the names you might recognize because of previous classes. I recognize almost all of these names as students that I've had in other classes. And it's actually one of my, it is the smallest class. I have 16 students. The largest class I have is a Constitutional Law 35. So it's good, and I can give a lot of time and attention. As you already know, my rule for communicating with me is you can text me, email me, call me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. Um, if you tell me you tried to reach me the 25th hour of the day, first thing I want to know is how'd you do that, since there's only 24 hours in a day. But the truth of the matter is that we could be more relaxed here. We're going to get our assignments done, but this is, how should I say, it's independent studies type thing. Have you ever done an independent studies before? You can type that. Okay. It means what it says. What it means is you meet with the professor gives you some instructions, you provide questions to the professor then answers those questions, then you go and you do the assignments that, or whatever it is that's assigned for that week, and then you come back together. So I've done a lot of those when we were residential, before we actually went to the format of being online. I like online because it's accommodating for me, and it's probably accommodating for a person like yourself with children. And I also did something else this time. I moved my lectures up. Normally my lectures were 8:30 p.m. Central Standard, and I heard some requests through surveys that 9:30 Eastern, because you and I are in Central, that would be later. So I said, okay, so if I started at 7 o'clock, that's 8 o'clock, and we're through by 9 o'clock, which this one's supposed to go till 9:30 in Eastern, or 8:30 Eastern, but I don't even know if it's going to go that long because of the kind of stuff that we deal with. So anyway, these are some of the names. Feel free to reach out to some of your uh, colleagues. Do you see any names you recognize? other than mine? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, some of these students have, for example, um, okay, introduction to corrections, um, introduction to criminal law, and drugs and crime. That's primarily where most of these students. Which one were you in? Or were you in more than one of those? Well, okay, that's usually par for the course. Yeah, boy, I haven't. As if somebody says, "Oh, you still like me after even four chances?" Good. I'm happy to hear that. No, I try to be conscientious with my students. Thank you, thank you. But no, you know, I had a student that told me I was too hard on them, and I told him, I said, "Honey, you haven't seen hard. You wait till you get into the real world. You want to be ready." And one student told me, said that you grade us as if we're professionals. I says that's the idea, is to get you to that level so that it's like breathing when you get out there. I got a lot of people, friends of mine that are on Facebook, that have signed up for Facebook and keep in touch with me. Despite all the bad stuff we hear about Facebook, I use it as a tool to communicate with my former students, and a lot of them reach out to me for letters of recommendation. So you can count yourself among those students that when you get ready, let me know. So I've gotten, matter of fact, I got one student, he actually lives in Wisconsin, but he actually is on the police department in St. Paul. And then I have another student who lives in Minneapolis area, and she's on that police force up there as well. So I got students all over the country in various departments, corrections, probation, and so forth. So, all right, let's get to the announcement section here. So you'll discover that some of these things in here I won't go over, but I will take time to go over the academic integrity video. I do want to point this video out, this announcement out to you, and then of course the week one. But I'm not going to go over it. But adversity is springboard to success. You know that's my motto, and if you click on that, it actually gives you a 1 hour uh, rendition, which you already know. You've heard it 3 times already, but feel free to share it with other people as well. A student asked me, is it okay to share it? I said, please, because my role is to motivate my students, to encourage my students, not to discourage my students, and to be there if you need me, even for adverse situations, and be able to be of support to you and encourager. So the academic integrity video, I am going to play that one. A matter of fact, let's do this after. Okay, no, let's do this first. The Library and Learning Center announced that they have webinars to help. Now, they had a virtual tour that took place, that was yesterday. But I sent this out to everybody to see the very first day, which was that Monday. But these important ones are coming up next week, the 12th and the 14th. And you don't have to go to both. You can go to one or the other at 12:15 p.m. I don't know if they're recorded, but it helps you with APA. And at this point, most of you guys that are in this class understand APA pretty well, because you're on your way out the door and you're heading towards your next level of your education. So you know the importance of the elements that relate to the transferable skills that I'll just briefly mention in this class. So the 5th was the first one, so the 12th and the 14th. And then there's an advanced one. This is one you guys might be interested in, that's Tuesday the 19th. That is a week from next Tuesday at 12:15 p.m. And I encourage my students to, even if you are doing well, just to go and see, and you click on this, and then it takes you to there. Also, you should be aware, did you see the announcement? You know, Rasmussen has an app on your phone now. Do you know about that? You know about the app? On that app, um, there is an announcement that I happened to see today or yesterday, and it pointed out that we now have I don't see it anymore, but library and learning. Let's see, library. Learning. Trying to see if I can. There's a app now. Library Learning Services. So they have an app actually on the phone now. I mean, in that app, there is some information about library and learning services. If you go to their page, you'll see it. I don't see it right now, but it was an earlier email that I saw. Not email, but it was an announcement on there. So you can do it that way as well. Get to the library and learning. But this webinar series is invaluable, so I highly recommend that. And that this announcement will stay up until the 20th, because then, of course, the last session will be the 19th. All right. Now we have the academic integrity video, which is 4 minutes long. Dean Mladic, John Mladic, he is in Rockford. He is over the Learning Center coordinators. Our Learning Center coordinator is Bethany Marston. Our librarian is Dennis Johnson. And so here is a 4-minute video that you've probably seen, but I'm going to put it on because there may be some students who see this tape recording and didn't know it. So I'm going to unplug this, and it's closed caption, so here it comes.
What is academic integrity? Academic integrity is making decisions in your academic life that are based on honesty, trust, fairness, responsibility, and respect. This means being honest in the work you do, while respecting the work that others do. So what is cheating? Cheating means distributing or receiving answers or information by any means other than those expressly permitted by an assignment's requirements or an instructor. Some examples of cheating include asking fellow students for answers or copying answers during a test, using notes, devices, or materials during a test that your instructor has not approved, purchasing papers from websites or other sources, copying your classmate's work, assisting a classmate in misconduct, and other violations as noted in the academic integrity policy that can be found in all course syllabi. Always ask your professor if it's okay to use notes during a test or to work together with classmates on an assignment or quiz. Now let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism means using another individual's work without giving them credit or taking another person's work and claiming it as your work. Some examples of plagiarism are turning in an assignment that someone else wrote, copying words or ideas from someone else. This can be a library resource, course textbook, internet resource, or other material without giving the original creator credit. Failing to put quoted works in quotation marks, or using someone else's ideas in your essays, but changing a few of the words to make it sound like the words are your own. Plagiarism is not just about written words and ideas. It's possible to plagiarize images, graphs, coding, or video as well. So how can you avoid plagiarism? Cite your sources, both in the body of your paper as in-text citations and on your references page. Whenever you want to use words, images, media, or ideas that were created by another person, you should cite that person appropriately as the source of that information.
But how does academic integrity relate to the work world? Isn't it just a college thing?
No. Integrity in the workplace starts with good practices and skills built while you are a student. Would you turn in a project document to your manager as your own when someone else wrote it? Not if you want to keep your job. Individuals can be reprimanded or even fired from their job for plagiarism. Following academic integrity guidelines while you are in school builds those skills and ethical practices that carry through to the workforce.
Okay, I understand how they're connected, but what do I do if I need more help?
If you have questions on the academic integrity policy, consult your course syllabus, talk with your instructor or dean, and if you need assistance with APA citation style or how to avoid plagiarism, contact the Rasmussen library team through our live chat or schedule a research appointment on our library website or through the resources tab of your course. If you would like APA tutoring, schedule an appointment with one of our peer tutors on the course resources tab.
So that is something that should all be familiar with at this point, but I still am in the habit of playing it because of the fact that sometimes it's just a refresher for my students to understand and recall some of those things. And remember, the simplest thing that was said in that video is cite your sources. So when you cite your sources, you're almost all the way through with compliance, and then there are other things that go with APA. And then, like I said again, if you use the APA assistance that we have embedded in here, and it tells you, here we go, and you can see the sources. And then the Library and Learning Center also has set up for School of Justice Studies research sources, database, APA, and things of that nature. And it provides specifically for certain courses information and things that will benefit you, things that will help you. These are, as I said, these are the various guides. But you want to make sure that you keep in mind that these are still sources that we have in here to be of assistance to you. And then, of course, pay attention to the announcements that we have here. So let's get to the week 1 announcement for today. And historical foundations of criminal justice. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and then we're going to adjourn. But I want to make sure that you be aware, let me move this down, of the activities, different goals of criminal justice, sources of law, 3 components of criminal justice. We're going to touch on that, and then it reminds you of the lecture time and the discussion assignment rights. And that is due, of course, as of yesterday, the initial post, and of course the reply post is due by Saturday. I don't really have to elaborate on much in terms of this, except to remind my students that you'll lose a point each day that your discussion posts are late, and that if you submit a discussion post by Sunday, you're not going to get credit for it unless you did submit an initial post by Saturday. You'll of course lose points for that, but you want to be sure to complete all the discussion posts appropriately and timely. And then this week we got the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. These are actually two of the four amendments that are important in criminal justice. That would be the Fourth, the Fifth, the Sixth, and the Eighth. Those are the primary ones. And of course, the Fourth Amendment deals with, it's really something that is very valuable to understand. And you can't work in law enforcement unless you understand the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, dealing with warrants and when there are exceptions to obtaining a warrant. And then the Fifth Amendment, of course, has to do with self-incrimination. It also has to do with the infamous and famous Miranda case, which you probably heard me talk about my inside information that my former law professor, Professor Fred Inbow, was the author of the techniques that were criticized in the Miranda case, and that the Supreme Court said were unconstitutional, and he took personal offense to it. And he wrote amici briefs every time an issue came before the United States Supreme Court until Professor Inbow passed away. But the Fifth Amendment, and then of course the Sixth Amendment, which is, and we'll be probably touching on that, have to do with two important factors. Probably the biggest one is the right to counsel. The famous case of Gideon versus Wainwright sets the standard for that as well. And then also you deal with the right to a speedy trial. Every jurisdiction has its definition of what is speedy trial, a certain number of days in which an individual must be brought to trial and so forth. And then of course the Eighth Amendment deals with cruel and unusual punishment. Usually that involves the death penalty. As you should know, the death penalty is not cruel and unusual punishment. Based on Furman, F-U-R-M-A-N versus Georgia, the case that decided years ago, is before I went to law school, but we studied it in depth, that said that the death penalty is appropriate, and that there are certain measures that have to take place before the death penalty. You're in Wisconsin, and your state, long before our state, did not have a death penalty, because I remember extremely well. Yeah, there are some. I don't know which ones they are. I think Alaska is one, but that's a good question. You know, students, I invite students to research stuff like that, but I know we don't in Illinois. We did away with it in, let's see, 2012. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, there are some states that still have the death penalty. Let me see if I can help you out with that one. But the point of the matter is that you should be aware that a person can live years and years and years in prison on death row, and before they actually are executed. Death penalty states, let's see, how many states still have the death penalty? 27, and the United States government. Arizona, Arkansas, California. Let's see. What else? Yeah, okay. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, North Carolina. I said Alaska earlier, but I guess Alaska doesn't have it now. North Carolina, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah. Some states have a moratorium on the death penalty, such as California, Oregon, and Pennsylvania. The states that have abolished the death penalty are Alaska, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, DC, Hawaii, Illinois, Iowa, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, excuse me, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, and of course your great state of Wisconsin doesn't have it. I remember extremely well that there was no death penalty in your state. Let's see, you said something. Let me respond to that. Well, the reason why is because the due process rights that are afforded individuals. Remember one thing, death is final. So that's one of the things that when you read Furman versus Georgia, which is an extensive case, it said that before we subject a person to the death penalty, we have to exhaust all due process rights, and it takes a long time because here's what you probably are aware of and know is that in Illinois they did it, is that they did away with the death penalty because of too many wrongful convictions. Um, the wrongful convictions have taken place quite frequently across this country, and we have this saying that it is wrong for one innocent person to be executed. So, I mean, you can't do anything once the person's been executed and you find out that that's not the person. And because there's been an introduction of DNA and other technological advances, it's been easier to bring those cases back. I have a young man who is a friend of mine. He had a problem in your state years ago. His name is Jarrett. He's an attorney now. Let's see what's Jarrett's. I think it's Adams. Adams. Okay, I thought I may have an under A under my phone here. He wrote a book just recently. His name is, anyway, attorney. Oh, I got it under attorney. That's why. ATTY. Attorney Jarrett M. Adams. If you Google Jarrett M. Adams, you'll see he just recently did a book. He has become an attorney. He's from Illinois, but he got into a situation where he served time, and he was his sentence was reversed, and he went on to law school and became a lawyer, and now he's in New York, and he has the wrongful conviction project. So that is the reason why Illinois, it was determined by the governor that there were too many, and the governor at that time was a guy by the name of Ryan, who later went to jail himself, ironically. But the governor who signed the one line that says no more death penalty, I think it was 2012, when that happened, 2012 or 13, was one of my law school classmates from Northwestern who has a wrongful conviction program. And his name was Governor Pat Quinn. And so, but your state for a long time hasn't had it because you had one of the most notorious individuals who he was killed while on death row. And you know who that was? He was attacked. You ever heard the name Jeffrey Dahmer? Jeffrey Dahmer, you know what happened with him in the Milwaukee area. Um, and I know some people whose families were involved in that. And Jeffrey, yeah, he was attacked by other prisoners, exactly. So the point I'm saying is that there was no death penalty, and he was going to serve the rest of his life in prison. But there are people who are executed who or die in prison. We had serial killers like John Wayne Gacy here in Illinois, Richard Speck, who killed some nurses years and years ago, and the list goes on and on and on. So the Eighth Amendment says that death penalty is constitutional. However, they stretch out, and it takes years and years and years. And I think the most recent execution that I heard was in Texas just recently. And I can't remember the guy's name because I was just looking at it today, to be exact, and talking about, let's see if I still have it here. Let's see. Anyway, his name was Johnson. But anyway, so yeah, so those are your main amendments. All right. So you have your discussion about rights and so forth, and the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. The rubric is very important. You already know that. I don't grade students based on a curve anymore. They took that away from us, which is fair. That the rubric, and what we do with the rubric is we focus you on following the instructions of what the assignment is, which is a good habit to develop because you're going to end up doing that when you get employed in the future as well. Okay, and then this reminds you of when the lecture is, in my motto at the bottom there. Okay, now let's go down and let's look at real quick the oh, okay, here we go. Here's library resources. There we go, right there. So you have access to this. And then this is one I also was telling you that is also on the app for Rasmussen that you're familiar with. It tells you how you can meet with a librarian and so forth. And you can go click on any of these and it will give you more details, writing guides, helpful videos, and things of that nature. But the things that you guys focus on are Grammarly, running your paper through Grammarly, because I check every paper for critical thinking, and also for citations and references in the paper. And I also, here's more details again for APA. If you click that, it takes you to the toolkit again. So you have an abundance of sources. So this is a tab that you can always use as well. Okay. And then tutoring down here if you need that. All right. And I do say this to students. Tutoring is not just for students who are in trouble. Sometimes students, as a matter of fact, you know, a number of my students who've gotten to this level have been student tutors, student peers, and you may know some of them. Matter of fact, one of them, I'll just throw her name out there because she's in your state, Melissa Pitchford. Do you know that name? Yeah, Melissa. I think I think she's in the bachelor's program. She's been. I'm surprised that she hasn't been in. She's probably been in some of your classes. You just didn't notice. But she is one of the peer tutors. So the neat part about tutors are students, not professors. These are students who've been there and they can help you with the assignment. The only rule is that they can't tutor students in the course that they're taking at that present time. But most of my and I have a bunch of them, but Melissa jumps out at me because I've done a lot of stuff with her. Okay, so here's that little line about texting me, email me, calling me. It's important. Just reach out to me. You know, I'm one of the most accessible professors. If I had a student who put a comment in the survey, and my dean saw it, and he says, "No way." Said that he had a hard time reaching me, and he didn't know the phone number. Well, it was all over the place. But anyway, there it is right there, 630-660-8480. And it's everywhere with me. It goes all over the place with me. All right. And then there's my email address. And then this is a reminder. But this tells you that you must conduct research for all written assignments. And then APA, and then tells you those steps. Moving right along, you will see that your assignment requirements are readings and written assignments. We don't have tests in this class because at this point in time, when you're getting ready to graduate with degrees, we usually want the student to do more research and to prepare themselves for exiting, because some people don't go beyond bachelor's, except now it's a good thing. I know that you can't work in certain areas. For example, you can't be a probation officer or a correction officer without having a bachelor's. If you decide to go to law school, you have to have a bachelor's as well. And then many law enforcement agencies and other agencies are moving up to bachelor's because of the fact they want more professional individuals, more educated individuals. The more education, usually the less litigation that takes place. So these are your things, your written assignments, your discussions, and your live classroom. That's it. And you already know, or I'll say it again, my goal is A, B, A, B. You're one of those people. I already know. And I have students who will sometimes say, "How do I get a C in your class?" And I don't answer them. It's like crickets. I don't need to tell you how to get a C. You can get that on your own. But I think you're doing a disservice if you focus on a C. If you're just barely getting by. Yeah, but you don't understand. I got a lot of stuff I have to deal with. I said, you go back and listen to my story again, okay, before you say that. You know, I totally empathize with you, but I also know that you have me to help you if you want to. And don't worry about how many times. I have students that call me so much that I know exactly who they are when they call. And I don't know, I have 100-something students. I think this time I only have 75, thank God. But the point of the matter is that I'm able to give you time to help you. My goal is to do that, and I don't have to tell you because you already know. Accommodations, the transferable skills, very briefly, are written and oral communication, critical thinking. That's natural now. By now, I think you took a course in critical thinking. Didn't you take a course in critical thinking? Yeah, everybody. Before you graduate, they require it now. So I don't have to elaborate on that. Digital fluency, everything's digital, our textbooks, and you're using right now our LMS, a learning system here, Ultra Blackboard. Just when you thought you knew everything and you had Blackboard, then they came along with this new thing. Trust me, you guys were not by yourself. It hit us too, but we all had to learn something new. But once we get accustomed to it, it's a good tool. So digital fluency prepares you for the real world. Diversity and teamwork, we have people from all backgrounds, religious beliefs, and we respect people, their beliefs and positions. Just like, for example, you know, I joke about my relationship with the Bears and my friends that are Packers, but you know, we still civil about it most of the time. Okay. There are some people, boy, they won't even talk to you if you are, you know, but that's not that's not good. But anyway, such as it is. So teamwork is also important because you're going to work with individuals in teams. Here in this class, you can reach out to your classmates, talk to each other about what's going on. Also, what you can do is your discussion posts. When you contribute that, you are working together as a team to deal with the weekly issues that we provide in the module. Ethics and professional responsibility. Let me say this, that is a beginning and an end and in the middle. I always say an unethical student is an unethical professional. Unethical professionals end up losing their careers down the road and or end up behind bars. And so you don't want to find yourself in that situation. I have taught ethics in criminal justice, ethics in business, medical law and ethics, and then, as you know, I'm also a pastor and I deal with ethics. I don't push my beliefs off on people. People do accept them, and a lot of people have the same beliefs I do that I end up having as students. But the point of the matter is that the undergirding aspects of it that's most important is the ethical aspects of it. And so you want to do that. And so we teach that in every class. Back to diversity, we have a diversity and inclusion council, which I'm part of, and we deal with people from various backgrounds, understanding what the thing about when people say he, she, we understand, appreciate that. We understand transgenders and appreciate people. The bottom line is that we need to respect people for who they are. Everybody's not going to be raised and taught the same way. They may not speak the same language. They may not worship the same way, and find themselves in situations where you want to be civil about the whole thing and absolutely respectful. Professional responsibility, there are codes of conduct that you must abide by in every area that you work in. And then finally, information literacy, using credible sources, using sources that are reliable. Tell me right now, what's the #1 offender for never to use? Never use this source. You know what that is? Yeah. Okay. That's it. That's it. That's okay. I knew what you're talking about. That's okay. You're just Grammarly when you get ready to. No, I'm kidding you. But no, yeah, Wikipedia. I think it's WIKIPEDIA, I think. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We all know. So never use that. And we don't just tell you that. I don't like to just tell people don't do something. I explain to them why. Wikipedia is a word-based system, and it is changeable by anyone. And it's good for entertainment and stuff like that, and you can find stuff, but I don't rely on it much. The attendance policy, you can look at yourself. The late assignment policy, you all already know it, but just to refresher, you lose 10% for each day that your assignment is late, except we can waive that. Who is we? Me. Richard Wright can waive it. And if you, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but I've had many students who have found themselves in situations and they gave what I call extenuating circumstances to me. You know, reach out to me. I'm not this big bad wolf. I always like to compare my classes to a team because we are a team, and I'm the coach or the manager, and you're the players. And I try to help you execute plays for success and become victors and winners in life. And so that's the way that I am. So, you know, I'm not this, some people might recognize I'm Dr. Wright, Professor Wright. You know, you can call me Richard. You can call me hey you, but as one person said, just don't call me late for dinner, that kind of stuff. But the point of the matter is, you know what I'm talking about. Actually, that's not true. I'm also a Sox fan. You're probably a Brewers fan, right? I gotcha. Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time up in Wisconsin, not just for that. I used to travel with the White Sox, and my favorite thing that I used to be able to get, but you can get it anywhere now, are bratwurst. I used to go to Deer Park. You know Deer Park? You heard of Deer Park? Yeah, but it's in Wisconsin. It's a suburb of Milwaukee. But anyway, I'm a Bears fan and a Sox fan. But yeah, I am. But you know what? I'm a fan most of all of successful students. I'm a fan of you guys, and I stick out my chest, and I'm very proud. I have this little thing that I save up of the list of people that I usually, when we used to have the physical graduations, and I hope we get back to that again. I used to travel and go to some states. I went all the way down to Florida and surprised a student that was probably in one of your classes before, and he finished his bachelor's. Um, and But the point of the matter is that that's how I am with my students as well. My students are so important. So I'm very, very, very much into listening to what your extenuating circumstances are, and don't feel like something silly. Please, you get over that. Okay, we're working together. That's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, the last thing I do have to say is I think I already discussed it, the discussion post. Yeah, I did that earlier. Incomplete grade policies, you follow those steps. That's the only way I can extend beyond the last day of class. And then here's the academic integrity policy here. So that's the syllabus. All right, so now I want to go to up here and show you where messages, if you send me a message, I will see it here and I will respond to it. So far I've sent you, I don't even know if you saw the incorrect email, but I don't know what I was thinking when I was setting up my classes that I had to correct the welcome email. Uh, I had put Tuesday in there, but maybe that might be why there's not so many here tonight, but Wednesday. So did you get the email? I thought I had deleted the one that said Tuesday. Did you see if I deleted something? I thought I deleted it. Did you also see an email that said Tuesday was the night for the open house? Oh, okay, good. Okay, I think that once I deleted, because I was deleting it while I was setting it up. But anyway, that's the key. So sometimes students think that, well, I already know what professor is going to talk about, but it's a good thing. You can always get more stuff, and then also just like there are questions you can ask. Like for example, you asked me about the death penalty and what states, and I found that for you. You wouldn't find that by listening to the tape recording if you didn't ask the question. So that's why it's good to have those. Then in the grade book, we have next to that, I see the discussion posts. People have answered those, submitted those, some of those. And of course, those are not due until the initial post yesterday, the reply post Saturday. Your live lecture phrase will be due by Sunday, as well as your written assignment. The Fourth and Fifth Amendment, we've talked about that, but let's talk specifically. Ups, this just tells me the grades. I don't want to go into that. I want to pull out I don't want to do that. Oh, I know why, because I'm in the grade book. Let me get out of the grade book. Well, before I do that, I'll go do discussions first. So discussion this week are rights, and then scenario. After arresting a suspect for burglary, police learned from a confidential informant that the burglar had murdered someone in another city. The police in the other city were informed of this, and you're dealing with that issue with the discussion rights. And this just shows simply the directions, instructions, scenario. Here it is right here. And then you're going to answer these two questions. If you were a defense attorney, what arguments would you make to have the confession excluded? I know the answer to this and can elaborate in detail, but I'm not writing your discussion post. But when I respond, you can see in my discussion post what I said. If you were the judge, would you permit the confession to be used? And you're going to elaborate on that as well. Okay, and there's a few people that have done it. It's no secret for me showing stuff like this because you're going to see it anyway. All right, and I've already put one reply in. Matter of fact, I just basically said the issue is that the lawyer was retained, and you can read that. And what the attorney is there for. Anyway, that's my response to the activity, just to share some additional information for you. Okay, the calendar, again, just refreshing your memory again. On the month, you can see that the course started Monday, and when our lectures take place, and it tells you the due dates for the reply posts. Okay, why don't I see? You know what? I forgot to put in. I got to put it in for the initial posts, but the initial posts are due on Tuesday. I thought I had them in my calendar. My dean missed that. I'm going to add that to it. So when you look at it next time, you'll see that the initial posts are due starting with the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, the 26th, and then the 2nd of November. Yeah, I don't know how I missed that one. And then, yeah, see, there it is right there for week 6. So I got to go back and set it up for week 5. But anyway, it's in your announcements, and you already know that pretty much anyway. So I got to just go back. That was my bad and miss there. One thing I do want to point out to you is this. Our lectures are Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Now, notice something here is that when we get to the 3rd of November, which is actually week 5, you will have a live lecture at the normal time, followed by another lecture that's a half hour after I complete the other one. 8 o'clock, I stop this one, and 8:30, I start. This is week 6. The reason why I'm doing that is because the course will end on the 9th. So I couldn't give you a lecture the following week 6 because the course ends the day before that. And it wouldn't make sense to do it Monday. That's unfair to you. So you'll have 2 on that particular day. That's the one thing that you want to note. Very important. I had to figure out whether I wanted to do one on Wednesday and then maybe do later. But I felt like the more time I can give you to prepare for this last day in the lecture, the better. And you'd have that recording, even if you couldn't stay for it, that kind of thing. Does that make sense, what I just said? Okay, so I'm trying to help to make sure. So that's a ways away, but I just wanted to share that with you and bring it to you. But again, I got a little something I got to fix when I get through here. And that's to add to the calendar. Okay, now let's go and let's look at, we got about 16 minutes left here. We already talked about the Fourth and Fifth Amendment quite a bit, and I've given you the information about that. So your paper should be 750 to 1,000 words in length, and I have a way of counting it. An APA format and those kind of things, we already talked about that, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. But I'm going to go to the rubric because I want everybody over here. You know what? I wish I could delete these and put these in the trash. I asked my dean, he says, nah. He says, because, and it makes sense what he said. He says, if a student misses mastery, they need to know why they're in proficiency for that section. So this is A, this is B, this is C and D, and this is F. So, and the feedback that people are always looking for, I said, is in the module. It's right here. It tells you the reason why a person would end up here is because they had an unclear explanation of crime control and due process models, as well as the Fourth and Fifth Amendments, which means too that you don't have citations and sources. If you don't have any citations and sources, you're gonna be over here automatically. Steps the arresting officer should take. You're going to give me that. So basically what I am saying is I teach not from here or here or here. I teach from here. And this is what I want you to do. And if you miss, that's okay. But, you know, determine, and you know, guys, the neat part about this course is that you don't have a lot of stuff. You don't have tests and things like that. You don't have a textbook. So you just research and provide answers to the issues. And if you need some further elaboration other than what I might mention during the lecture, you can always reach out to me with the parameters that you already know. Steps for the arresting officer should take. The Fourth and Fifth Amendment. And that's it. But it's got to be APA formatted. Somebody said, oh, it's not in the rubric. The rubric is the method for grading. But how are you going to give clear and comprehensive anything if you don't give sources, cite your sources? Remember, we talked about that in the video. So anyway, everybody would have that. So that's how I grade. And then sometimes I put my own little words in there that says, up, you didn't provide citations, or your paper needs more details and information. I read every one of your papers, every one of them. And they all are run back through Grammarly, and they all should be double spaced. They all should have a cover page. They all should have a reference page, and they should have citations throughout the body of the paper, just because citations support the statements that are contained in your papers. Okay, so that's that assignment that we already talked about. Okay, do you have any questions about the assignment? Okay, remember, the only time you can't ask me is the 25th hour. All right, so discussion, rights. Here are rights, and here's the scenario you have here, and then you're going to answer from a perspective of attorney and judge, with your initial post due on Tuesday and your reply post due by Saturday. Okay. Right. And then your live classroom recording. This is just so that you can, it doesn't matter. You're here already, but that's where it is. It'll be gone in a while because when I finish, I'm going to put in the link for the recording, and I'll email that to you as well. Then this is due in the Dropbox by Saturday. By Sunday, but you have an advantage because you're here. You can do it right after class is over, and then this will be your first grade for the week. So you'll have that. All right. So these are the topics. So I'm going to briefly. So what this information here is just basically to give you a little thought about how the criminal justice system has evolved over the years and the direction that it has moved in more towards the present time, where we have due process rights. And you know what due process is? Due process, by the way, on a constitutional level, has to do with the federal government and the Fifth Amendment. The 14th Amendment has to do with the states applying the Fifth Amendment to the 14th Amendment. And due process pretty much has substantive rights where you have hearings, you have an opportunity to respond to the allegations and charges. In other words, we don't just lock people up. Even if we have what we call, quote, airtight case, you still have a right to a trial. And so we are at the present in protecting individual rights. And those are primarily based upon the Constitution and the due process clause of the Fourth Amendment. I'm sorry, the Fifth Amendment for the federal government and the 14th Amendment. And what we want to do is we want to be able to help people to deal with a good quality of life. We want people to be good citizens. So we address issues. We don't just lock people up if we find out. As I was telling you guys, when you took corrections, and I'm teaching that again, I tell my students, the reason why a person is in corrections is they need to be corrected. The root word for corrections is correct. And so individuals who are found not guilty are not in the correction system. However, I, as an attorney, do correct my clients because sometimes they get off on a technicality or because of the fact that the other side wasn't as prepared. And I don't feel bad about it because both sides should be professional in terms of their presentation before the trier of fact, whether it's a judge or a jury. But the point of the matter is that corrections involve trying to help people in the probation parole area. You're dealing with human resources. You know exactly what I'm talking about because you're dealing with alcohol and drug abuse, mental illness, and all of these types of things. Dealing with social service agencies. I have a daughter who's a clinical psychologist, and she works in the same area that a lot of people I know I've worked with in human resources, and that was pretty much what she had a minor with, her major being psychology. But as it talks about here, it says police are now at a point now where they're being trained more to deal with the psychological disorders and provide resources. And you know, you'll see if you took the drugs and crime course, which you did, that I talk about the fact that we dealt with deflection and the fact that individuals, instead of running from the police are there to help to save lives and actually come in the form of almost like EMTs, first responders with Narcan. You know about Narcan, right? And Noxalone. Yep. So that we're here to help people. We don't want people to run from the police. We want to run to the police, and that's why we need professionals that are involved. And so there's, you know, we're moving in a deal where it says overcrowding is the result. You can lock up people and you don't treat them for the issues. They come back, they're gonna do it, you know. And so we want to try to get to the heart of the matter. I dealt with gangs and all that, I was a lawyer for a lot of gang members, and I discovered something about gang members is that they needed someone to sometimes just give them up close in their face um, redirection. And that's what I did. I did it heavily, even while I represented them and those kind of things. But we have to get to the point that, as it talks about due process, saw crime increase and gangs ultimately led to the FBI and so forth. But now we have an emphasis on civil rights, individual rights. Everybody has rights. And that's our role to make sure that we protect them. Okay. As I said to a friend of mine who was a police officer, and I told him, I said that I represented police officers who got in trouble, and they appreciated the um, individual and civil rights when the shoe was on the other foot. So the point of the matter is that we all have those benefits. So here's just a little information here, and then this just gives you the process, which you already know, from arrest all the way down to sentencing, and the different steps that you go through. And these processes take a little while before you get to. By the way, and I think I've said this before in your classes, is that roughly 80 to 90% of the cases don't go to trial. They end up being disposed of by plea bargaining. And some people say that's bad, but it's not all that bad because of the fact that our system would be overcrowded, even more so. And there may be some speedy trial issues. People will be let go because there's not enough resources to conduct these trials. Sources of law. Well, the Constitution, as we talk about the first 10, well, before we get to that, be aware that the Constitution divides our system into 3 sections. The legislative branch. These are addressed on the federal level as Congress. The House of Representatives, which consists of 435 members, and the Senate, which consists of 100 members. The House of Representatives are elected for 2 years, and the Senate every 6 years. And they create the laws. And the executive branch, which is the president and the governor, the mayor, and so forth on a local level, are the ones responsible for enforcing the law. So that your police come out of the executive branch. And then the interpreter of the law is the judicial branch, and that's led at the top by the United States Supreme Court and other courts under them. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter, and going back to an old case, Marbury versus Madison. Have you ever heard that case before? Marbury versus Madison. You ever heard that one? Yep. Okay. I was going to say, if you were in many of my classes, you heard it, because that's the famous case that said that the courts are the final arbiters of the laws themselves. And then the due process part we talked about already, dealing with the Bill of Rights, our first 10 amendments. And then we recognize the due process right by reviewing the 4th Amendment. We talked about search and seizure. The 5th Amendment, self-incrimination. The 6th Amendment, speedy trial and counsel. And the 14th Amendment, applying these to the states. And it tells you right here what I just said a few minutes ago. Then the United States Supreme Court, which consists of 9 people. By the way, I was supposed to attend a seminar. I got a recording of it. I'm gonna have to listen to it at my law school, Northwestern, and they were talking about consideration for increasing the number. And then there also is a discussion that takes place in our constitutional law class that I teach about whether or not the Supreme Court justices should be appointed for life, and Very interesting concept about that. So anyway, so the Supreme Court dealing with, as they talk about here, Gideon versus Wainwright, which I mentioned earlier, is a case that guaranteed the right to counsel in situations before you are your liberty is deprived. Okay, it says prior to Gideon, court-appointed attorneys were practically unheard of, except in capital cases such as murder and some. But now you get it in almost all cases. So, and then this tells you a little bit more about the fourth. And then, you know, we got the DNA thing, which I think was the most revolutionary change to the criminal justice system, where it came about later when I was almost near the time I was retiring. And it has been a tool that's been used constantly, because that's how they found out about that Patino, you know, the young lady who they found her remains and things like that. That's that whole scenario is you know, I got my forensic type students who, you know, talk about all the different things that are involved, criminal minds and things of that nature. A very interesting issue. But DNA is really good because it's used by law enforcement to solve cases, and it's also used by prosecutors and defense attorneys to exonerate individuals who are innocent of crimes. The last thing here are the components. The three components, and we've already been talking about them, are police, which falls under the executive, judiciary, the courts, and then the corrections. Remember, if you're found not guilty, or you know you're not guilty, you don't end up here. This is to correct you, to help you, and to try to, and as I have said many times to my students, my favorite thing is it says all the tasks to find, punish, and rehabilitate. I prefer to begin working on the rehabilitation process because we don't lock up people forever. And even as talking about the death penalty, as we said earlier, it is not a deterrent to crime because of the things that we talked about earlier involving that. So there is, before you can arrest someone, you need probable cause to issue a warrant or arrest an individual, unless there is what we call the Terry stop, Terry versus Ohio, which is a famous stop and frisk case where you can stop a person briefly, but you can't go through their pockets and all those kind of things. So it talks about the courts and the prosecutors and the role. And good old defense attorneys, I made most of my living doing that as well. The jury, I love trying juries. I had a 90% success, 90% above success rate with juries. 12 in the box, I was taught that. And then it talks about finally at the end, the defendant, if they're sentenced to probation, they'll assign to a probation officer. And when you took corrections, you remember that. And then if a person was in prison and they were released early, they were assigned to a parole officer. And as it says here in the final statement, corrections is viewed as a rehabilitative function designed to provide resources to correct, notice that word, correct, the root word, and prevent recidivism, which is repeat offenders, to minimize that. And that's all I have for today. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. How about the key phrase? All right. Any suggestions? I already know one. No guesses? Well, actually, not that. We didn't really talk too much about it, but remember the Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that applied to the states through the 14th Amendment. But that's a good one. How about one that's even easier? How about criminal justice? Okay, I feel you on that one. You know, if you students a lot of times will realize that, I'm here to help you, but I'm also here to have fun and to help you enjoy as well. So this stuff can be dry. Trust me, law can be dry, but it also can be exciting, you know. So, and sometimes you have to pause to laugh at yourself, and you have to take what I call an entertainment break in the middle of doing some stuff. I've done it in court. The judges have done it in court, So, but it's not a crime to laugh. Um, but anyway, okay. So that's it. Criminal justice. Give me that, and you will get your points for this week. Put that in that Dropbox. And it's been a pleasure again to see you, Carrie, and I will look forward to seeing you and hopefully some more of your classmates next week when we'll go as well. Again, just remember, I'm gonna as soon as I get off of this, I'm gonna go back and next time you look at that calendar, you'll see what happened. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, my computer's doing its own thing. So I'll see you next week. Stay safe and reach out to me if you need me. Good night.